To order the special meeting on December 18th of the Verona Common Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have the roll call. Ms. Schofield, please.
Alderperson Bear.
Here.
Alderperson Diaz.
Here.
Alderperson Doyle.
Here.
Alderperson Manley.
Here.
Alderperson McGilvery.
Here.
Alderperson Reekie. Here. Alderperson Steiner.
Here.
And Alderperson Yurs.
Here. We have everyone here, so we have a quorum. Thank you for that. We'll move on then to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak this evening? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Third and final time, anyone from the public that wishes to speak this evening? Seeing no one, we will move on with the agenda. We have committee reports, and we will begin with the Personnel Committee. Ms. Doyle, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agenda item 5A1, discussion and possible action regarding resolution R-13-056, approving a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Verona and the Wisconsin Professional Police Association for 2014, 2015, and 2016. The Personnel Committee did vote unanimously to recommend approval to the council, and we were very impressed by how reasonable both parties were and how quickly this came to fruition. I don't know, Mr. Burns, if you would like to provide some details on the agreement.
Mr. Burns?
Sure, I can provide a quick summary of the terms of the agreement. This would be a 3-year agreement. It includes annual wage adjustments of 3% in 2014, 3% in 2015, and 3.25% in 2016. One of the main items that the city was looking for in this agreement was the inclusion of employee contributions for the Wisconsin retirement system. For protective services employees under Wisconsin Acts 10 and 32, employees hired in protective services occupations after July of 2011 are required to pay the full contribution effective at the beginning of this as the new contract. But for the employees hired before July of 2011, this agreement includes contributions of 2% for WRS in 2014, 4% in 2015, and the full employee required contribution in 2016, and that's currently at 7%. So the wage adjustments are a little bit higher in recognition that those WRS contributions would be phased in over the next 3 years, going to the full amount at the end of this contract, or in the final year of this contract. This also includes an increase in the annual uniform allowance from $550 to $600 beginning in 2014, and we did agree to an adjustment for daylight savings time to ensure that employees are paid if they work an additional hour due to a change in daylight savings time. A couple other items included in the agreement. The city had requested, and this includes language related to health insurance coverage, which clarifies that the ability for the selection of health insurance plan design and selection is solely the city's responsibility. It also includes some language updates reflecting the change from Teamsters to the Wisconsin Professional Police Association, making some modifications to the recognition and fair share clauses in relation to the change in the bargaining unit, and clarifying the time off process for the police school liaison officer. So overall, I believe that it's a fair agreement. It accomplishes the primary goals as directed by the Personnel Committee, and has been ratified by the unit, and my understanding is was unanimously supported by the police officers in their vote for ratification.
Questions, comments, potential motions? Ms.
I'd
Doyle?
like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Doyle. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Yurs. Discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion? The only thing I would like to add, and Ms. Doyle already mentioned, and that it's really an appreciation by all for negotiating a contract and having an agreement prior to the end of the year occurring. So I think that's great. We have a 3-year contract, and congratulations to everyone that worked on the negotiations. Seeing no other comments, I will call the question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Ms. Doyle?
Agenda item 5A2, discussion and possible action authorizing the use of 2014 personnel contingency funds. And that would be for the COLA adjustment for all employees, or for the non-represented, non-police sworn employees. So that kind of covers everything in the previously mentioned WPPA contract. And also includes the police lieutenant wage adjustment. So that brings us to $74,299, just short of the $75,000 personnel contingency. And again, the personnel committee voted unanimously to recommend this to council.
Any comments, questions, or potential motions? Mr. Bear?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a good discussion, I think, at the committee level on this item about the using up all of the personnel contingency funds that are available in 2014. I'm curious if perhaps Mr. Burns could sort of summarize that conversation and what options there are if there are additional contingencies that arise in 2014.
Mr. Burns?
Yes, thank you. And just to clarify, the 2014 budget included $75,000 in personnel contingency, and the last page in your packet details out the projected use of that. So that would include funding the non-represented, non-police cost of living adjustment of 2%, which was approved in the budget, the projected cost from the contract settlement that was just approved, as well as the similar treatment for police non-represented sworn employees, which would be the chief, lieutenants, and sergeant positions. Personnel committee had recommended an adjustment to the police lieutenant wage. That was another item that was discussed during the budget, and during the budget process, it was said that we would take a look at that after the budget and based on the funds and the personnel contingency. So the discussion at personnel committee was that with this using the vast majority of the personnel contingency funds, what options there would be for the city if there would be a desire or a need to make other adjustments during the course of the year. And some of the options that were discussed is that the city does have a general contingency of $25,000. It's not specifically earmarked for personnel items. It's generally for unexpected situations or emergency situations, but that would provide one potential source of funds. Other options would be to look at savings anywhere else within the budget, or one suggestion was the city could potentially look at its final year-end numbers from 2013, and to the extent that there's any surplus funds that would normally go into the undesignated fund balance, a portion of that could be carved aside and earmarked for contingency or personnel-related items. And then, of course, the final option would be for the city to tap any undesignated fund balance options. So I think that the city does have some flexibility if there would be other things that would come up during the course of 2014.
Other questions, comments, potential motions? Ms. Doyle?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Doyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bear. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Ms. Doyle, is there anything else from Personnel Committee?
No, there isn't.
Thank you. Then we are moving on to new business. And rather than me reading the entire paragraph and having somebody read it back when we make a motion, I would ask if there's anyone willing to make a motion per agenda item. It would be 6-1.
Could you speak specifically to what the motion is you're looking for, Mr. Mayor?
Well, it's discussion action regarding a case, a lawsuit that litigation, I should say, that the city of Verona was involved in, and a decision was made on Monday. We'd have discussion in closed session, and there may or may not be action in closed session that we could then report publicly.
So you're looking for a motion to go into closed session?
Correct.
Then I will make a motion to go into closed session in the matter of case number 13CB3717, parent local 311 IFF, AFL-CIO versus the city of Verona and Verona Joint Fire District, currently in the Dane County Circuit Court. The common council may convene in closed session. Excuse me, I should have had this on. May convene in closed session as authorized by section 19-85, parent 1, parent G of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with the City of Verona legal counsel who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the city with respect to litigation in which it is involved. The Common Council will reconvene in open session and may take action on the closed session item.
So we have a motion by Mr. McGilvray. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Manley. This requires a roll call vote, and I would have Ms. Schofield read the roll, please.
Alderperson Bear.
Aye.
Alderperson Diaz.
No.
Alderperson Doyle.
Aye.
Alderperson Manley.
Aye.
Alderperson McGilvery.
Aye.
Alderperson Rieke.
No.
Alderperson Steiner.
Aye.
And Alderperson Yurs.
Aye.
The motion to go into closed session passes on a 6-2 vote. We are now in closed session. We are back in open session with no other business before us this evening. A motion to adjourn would be in order. We have a motion by Mr. Manley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McGilvray. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.